Yeah, is this a unit? And you mentioned of why we saw the unit we saw yesterday. Like Vidarian Lowe goes down. That's why Chuks Okorafor was at left tackle. City So went down, didn't return to the game, and was ruled out right away, which is never a good sign. Is this an offensive line that is anywhere close to being what Patriots fans and what we may see come out week one? Because you speak about it, and I agree, there's the situation. You need to have 5 guys you can trust to keep Drake Maye upright and not digress into the raw prospect he was coming out of UNC. But is this offensive line even close to being a final product that they can trust with Jacoby Brissett, let alone their rookie number 3 overall pick?
Not really at this point, because what we saw last night was, Chuks Okorafor at left tackle, City So at left guard, Nick Leverett at center, Layden Robinson at right guard, and Michael Wanu at right tackle. When the season starts in week 1, none of those guys might be in those positions. So they almost have to use the start of the season as an extended preseason to continue to figure out the starting offensive line, because Okorafor could move from left tackle to right tackle. So injured his ankle, he could be out. Nick Leverett not going to be the starting center. It's going to be David Andrews. Layden Robinson struggled with penalties. He might not be the right guard. Michael Wenu might move over to right guard, and they might have Vidarian Lowe at left tackle if he's healthy. So, this was their last chance to see what a starting offensive line could look like. And 2 weeks later, they might have to reshuffle the entire thing. And they wanted to settle the offensive line after week 2 of the preseason. That's what Drake Maye said. That's what their timeline was. That's what that's what they were trying to hit as a deadline. It didn't happen, and things can change, but it's tough to be going in a third preseason game with a starting offensive line that could be completely reshuffled by week 1, because there's no guarantee now at this point that whatever they do try out there at week 1 is going to be, they're going to be able to work together, that those are the right pieces in place and everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's honestly not a great offensive line for Jacoby Brissett to be working with either. Jacoby Brissett is just so much more experienced that you'd rather have to have him suffer behind that offensive line than Drake Maye, whose development that you could ruin behind a group like that.
I feel a little uneasy hearing Drake Maye talk about the waiver wire and that they're third in line, and you had commented on that saying, I could be wrong about this, but there's not going to be some great offensive lineman that's just going to be let go by a team. Are they foolish to think that they can actually, maybe they can improve the offensive line if there is a guy released because of where the state of the offensive line right now, but it can't be exponentially better after they claim somebody, can it?
No, and this messaging has been taking place since I think it was the owners' meetings, where it was after free agency, and I forgot if it was Elliott Wolf, Robert Kraft, or Drake Maye, but they started this whole messaging of, okay, yeah, maybe we didn't do everything that we could during free agency, maybe we didn't fill in every single spot, but there's still trades, and hey, we're going to have a really high waiver claim spot, so we can still improve our roster on waiver claims. And when they're saying in March, it's sure, okay, maybe some guy's going to be out there that's going to get waived that they could help improve their team. But they've been pushing this and pushing this and pushing this, and starting offensive linemen, especially starting offensive tackles, are not waived because they're too valuable to waive. They're either traded, they're started, they're kept as swing tackles. No one wants to cut a starting offensive lineman. But Adam, to your point, yes, maybe someone who was cut could potentially be an upgrade on this offensive line just because of the state of it. Because we're looking at a scenario where if City So is injured, we could see Michael Jordan being a starting guard for the Patriots. That'd be great news if you're the Chicago Bulls in 1995. Not great news if you're the Patriots in 2024. And that is an area where I do actually think that someone who's cut could possibly be better than Michael Jordan, could possibly be better than someone like Vidarian Lowe, but that's not going to fix your offensive line. It might make you very, very, very minorly better, but this is not some big fix that they're trying to make it out to be.
Yeah, it goes back to the start of this offseason, and you touched on it, Doug, where there was a free agent like Jonah Williams, left the Bengals, signed with the Cardinals, $21.5 million, I believe. And yes, he's not the premier left tackle, but he was a left tackle. Now they're dealing with the issue of just not having any solid tackles. What do you make, though, of Alex Van Pelt? last time we heard from him last week, he sounded like he has a plan and he's sticking to it. He said, and I quote, "I'm sure there's a chance for him to be a week 1 starter, but there's still a process on how you bring a rookie quarterback along." I think this goes hand in hand, as you've touched. We all know about it. Everyone sees it, that it's the offensive line they're looking at. But what do you make of Alex Van Pelt being the guy that came in to be the one to develop Drake Maye and get him to be an NFL starting quarterback, just sticking to this plan no matter what the flashes we've seen from Maye?
I like the idea of sticking to a plan. Like I don't want them to be reactionary about any of this. I think that it is smart to stick to a plan. And if it has to do with the offensive line, it's that. If it's just Alex Van Pelt being like, "Hey, I saw this work with Aaron Rodgers," and Elliott Wolf, seeing this work with Aaron Rodgers and then seeing this work with the Packers with even Jordan Love, like, yeah, that's great. But I think that if they just were consistent about that messaging, it would be one thing. It's just reiterating what I've already said, but like, it's just the mixed messaging that's coming out now that, hey, he's better, he's the second best quarterback, he's better, blah, blah, blah. That's where it gets a little bit shaky. But I mean, yeah, I think it is smart to have a plan. They know that they're not going to be competitive in 2024 anyway. The idea is to be better in 2025 and beyond. And if they think that this plan is going to be the best thing to make them competitive and be contenders in 2025 and beyond, that's great. And that should work. I will say that I think that we still need to see a little bit of Drake Maye, whether it's him starting in week 5, week 10, week 15, whatever it is. The Patriots need some hope for the future, not only for the fan base, but also to try to acquire some of these free agents, these trade targets that they've had such a hard time getting. They're not going to be able to do that if Drake Maye doesn't flash at all this season. When that wide receiver or tackle or whoever it is wondering if they're going to be playing behind, Drake Maye or Jacoby Brissett, they don't know what Drake Maye looks like. I think that we still need to see a little bit of it. Try to get the rest of the offense in place enough, the offensive line working together well enough to get Drake Maye to at least flash something this season, so they can start to build the roster out in 2025 and beyond.
Do you think the Patriots have a little Mac Jones PTSD going on too?
It's certainly possible. And like, it is funny because there are people who are saying like, what would an offensive line, like, can an offensive line really ruin a quarterback? And I think that you have seen examples of it in the past. You had David Carr, you had Tim Couch. And yeah, I mean, like, Mac Jones might be an example right now. We'll see how his career progresses. He's looking pretty good for the Jaguars right now. I'm not convincing myself that he's going to look that way if he ever goes up against starters. But yeah, I think that you have to have some PTSD with Mac Jones and to see how poorly that went for them and to not take the exact same approach, because then you're just kind of banging your head against the wall doing the same thing over and over again. If it doesn't work, then you have some real regrets about it. This time, they did bring in the perfect bridge quarterback in Jacoby Brissett to bring Drake Maye along, to mentor him, to be that bridge quarterback that Mac Jones just simply didn't have because the Patriots cut Cam Newton. I don't think that would have been a good situation for them to both be in the quarterback room at the same point. But then even beyond that 2021 rookie season for Mac Jones, they just never had an adult in the room with Mac Jones who could do what Jacoby Brissett can do for Drake Maye. I think that's a big thing that they're fixing. But yeah, I think that there has to be. You have to look back and see what didn't work for you in the past.
Yeah, even look at after Mac's second year, letting Brian Hoyer go, because that's a guy that validated what Mac was dealing with behind the scenes of, yeah, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are leaving you and hanging you out to dry. And we saw him forget how to play football pretty much by year 3.